Everything that we need to be doing is based on aligning ourselves with the laws of nature. And if that sounds complex or confusing to you, all you really have to think about is, if we lived in nature, if we lived out in the jungle, not in a building, but out in the nature itself, and it was just us naked like other species, what would we do? Okay? So how many of you have been camping in the woods? Now, in a forest somewhere, not in a campground, but in a forest. No bathrooms. What do you do when you do a bowel movement? Squat. You squat, because there aren't a lot of toilets out in the forest, or you might say there's one big one. Okay? And so squatting is what we be doing in nature. That is the natural way to eliminate. And we've probably all grown, has everyone here grown up with toilets? Normal toilets? Mm-hmm. Yes? No? Like you have in the U.S.? Is that what you grew up with?
No, not good. When I was
in Korea, you grew up with a hole.
Squatting, yeah.
You grew up squatting. So in many places in Asia and other places, people still squat. But most of us grew up in North America, regular toilets. And people get lazy and they think that's all there is to it. And a lot of people don't even have the flexibility to squat. Okay? But it is, when I moved to Panama, I saw something interesting. I lived on top of a mountain, and there were little towns all the way up, and a lot of people didn't live near the town center where there was a bus stop. But there were little vans that would go up and down, they'd pick up anybody that wanted to ride. See old people waiting for the bus by the side of the road, squatting. It's what people do in places all over the world where they don't have furniture sometimes. It's just what they do. And it's a completely natural position. So here's a squatting position. This is not something that requires any strength, any more than standing up does. I mean, maybe a little bit, but it's a balanced posture. My weight is balanced on my feet. It doesn't require a lot of strength. It requires some flexibility. If you're not flexible in your knees and ankles and maybe in your hips and groins, maybe you can't do this. You need to work on it. And if you need to work on it, I would encourage you to start working on it. Because this is the natural way to eliminate, and everybody needs to be able to do this, to eliminate properly. Especially now, the reason it came up is, we talked yesterday about bowel movements, it didn't even occur to me to mention this at the time. But right now, where you guys are trying to get some less than easy to eliminate stuff out of your bodies, right, at the end of your fasts, and you're probably carrying around stuff that's been there for quite a while, it's going to be hard and dry. It's going to be hard to eliminate. Squatting makes an enormous difference. Okay, it makes an enormous difference. I'm going to show you why. It's a very simple thing. I'm going to show you exactly why. I'm going to scoot forward a little bit, and I want you to watch my pelvis. Okay? So watch my pelvis. Notice what happens. When I go from squatting, like I am now, to sitting down, watch what happens. What's happening? I just rotated my pelvis quite a bit, didn't I? You see that? Was that obvious? Now notice that my feet are up. So some of you have been led to believe that you can put a little stool in front of your toilet and put your feet up, and that solves the problem. Did my pelvis not rotate because my feet were up? It still rotates. Having your feet up does not make any real difference. Watch the angle of my pelvis. Does it change if my feet are up or down? Not significantly. It changes whether I'm sitting or squatting. Here's what's going on. Okay? When you sit down, you create a significant bend. It may not be 90 degrees. It may be 80 degrees, it may be 75 degrees, I don't know what it is. But you create a significant bend in the end of your colon. When you squat, you create a much closer to a straight line exit, a much more gentle curve. Which do you think is going to be easier to push this old hard stuff through? Obviously, the less bend you've got, the easier it is. That's what happens when you squat. Okay? So squatting is critically important. If you can't do this now, start practicing. Squat on the floor. Okay, the next time, if you're watching TV, watching a movie, working on your computer, you can squat. I don't know if I ever did this in Seattle. I don't remember doing this. I remember in Vancouver, where I used to go and speak, I remember once teaching a seminar, squatting on the kitchen table. I had a bunch of people in this big room. And I just got up on the table and squatted because I could see everybody that way. I was a little higher than they were, right? And didn't want to stand all day long. You just squat there sometimes for hours. Okay, it's a comfortable position once you get used to it, once you get flexible enough. All right, any questions about this? It's simple. It makes a huge difference. In fact, I'll tell you, when I figured this out, I was around 30. All right, that was nearly 24 years ago. And at the time, I was in the process of making significant changes to my diet and was in the process of cleansing my body 24, 25 years ago. So, but I'd forget because I'd been sitting down to have a bowel movement for 30 years. So I'd go to bowel movement, I'd sit down. And then I'd say, should have squatted. But when you're in the middle of it, you don't really want to change position, do you? So what I would do is I would sit there until I felt like I was finished. That was it, there was nothing else. And then I'd get up on my feet and squat. And I would almost always eliminate more. It makes a huge difference. Now, I've had people over the last 6 months, I just started about 6 months ago telling people, okay, if you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, but you don't have that familiar urge to have a bowel movement yet, right? You're thinking, no, it's not time yet, I don't have that urge. But you're feeling a bit uncomfortable, try squatting anyway. A lot of people eliminate even when they don't feel like they need to. Okay? It's so much easier that it sometimes, if it's sitting there and you still don't have the urge, you might still be able to eliminate if you squat. It makes a huge difference. Huge. And I think, can we all agree that the sooner you get that stuff out, the better off you are? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay? So make sure you do this if you can. Now here, most of you are in bathrooms where you've probably got something you can hang on to fairly close on either side of you. Right? You can probably get up even if you need, I don't really need that. My balance is good enough that it's no big deal to squat. And what I would normally do, by the way, if normally I wouldn't have anything on. I'm not going to demonstrate it that way for you though today. This is the family channel. But what you do is you back up the toilet, right? You put one foot on the toilet seat. Some people use the rim. The rim's pretty narrow. The seat's much wider, right? The fact that it's curved doesn't make it uncomfortable at all for me. So I put one foot on the toilet seat, put my weight on that, and then I bring the other foot up. Now, if you don't have the balance or strength to do that, then you can hang on to something. If you need to, you could put a chair in front of the toilet and hold the back of it while you get up, or if you don't have something on the sides. Find a way, because it makes a big difference. Okay? See you next time.